Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Friday I. As you can tell, we've gotten rid of Andre I. I know there was some thoughts and feedback on using an AI generated avatar to host the show. So we thought we'd bring it back to some of its roots where we've got real people talking about real and exciting things. So we're excited to talk to you guys today about a whole bunch of things. We're going to go over what's new in artificial intelligence this week, as well as we're going to have a deep dive into Chatbase, which is a chat AI generator, which I'm a really big fan of. We're using it for our firm. And I'm also going to bring in two new guests to the show this week. So I've got some colleagues that I think you guys are really going to enjoy hearing their input. So I'm going to be joined by a couple of my colleagues. First and foremost, we've got Kasim, who is an AI expert, and he's got a lot of value to bring and share with you, as well as my colleague Rachel, who, while she looks very young, has been with us for quite a few years. And she's going to sort of play the devil's advocate and talk about her experience in us rolling out artificial intelligence, what her thoughts are, what her concerns are. And we're going to hopefully have a really enlightening conversation about artificial intelligence and how we're actually rolling it out in the real world for our firm and our practice. So Kasim and Rachel, thank you guys for joining us. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing good. Thanks, Andrew. How are you?
I'm doing great. And I know you're going to be an expert at sort of playing devil's advocate for us and hearing what are your concerns about rolling out AI in a firm. And Kasim, you are our resident expert. You've got a wealth of knowledge. And I know you wanted to talk about some of the stuff that's going on in AI this week. There's been lots of news between OpenAI's Dev Day, lots of talk about Grok. What do you want to start with?
Yeah, for sure. Firstly, thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. We have a lot of interesting things packed. And as Andrew mentioned, that, this is the kind of stuff that we want to demystify because there's still a lot of, skepticism around it. And we want to talk about, we want to have a discussion where we talk about genuine benefits and some drawbacks of AI and how it can be implemented. So we'll start off with the thing which is trending the most on X, formerly known as Twitter, which is the launch of Grok. Now, this, you guys, Andrew and Rachel, you guys might be interested in it actually, is because Elon Musk launched this new generative-based AI model. So it's kind of like ChatGPT, but it has a very distinct feature to it. It's very edgy, has a sense of humor, it's sarcastic, and I think it's kind of modeled around the personality of Elon Musk. If you follow him on Twitter, that's kind of what he's like and what he's all about. So yeah, it's very interesting. I'd like to sort of throw it to you guys before giving my 2 cents on what do you think it represents and how Grok can sort of compete with ChatGPT as it is now.
Yeah, I think Grok is, it's another launch. We've seen Bard, we've seen Claude, we've seen a couple of AI models out there. And I think I read that it's actually based on the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy as far as sort of persona and personality. To add a little bit of character to it, which I think, coming out of my conference down in Miami with Hector and listening to Chris Do and what he was talking about, branding and the importance of having personality, I think people crave that. But the reality is you can build that into ChatGPT. We've done that for ourselves. And we talked a little bit about that last week with the custom instructions that you can do in ChatGPT. I think it's going to be really hard for anyone to knock ChatGPT off the leaderboard when it comes to artificial intelligence. I think we're going to see other competitors coming down the road, with an attempt to try and knock it off the podium, so to speak. But in my opinion, it's just another AI platform. And from my perspective, with everything that they've announced in, the OpenAI Dev Day release that came out this week, it's really going to be hard for anyone, like I said, to take them off the leaderboard in the near future.
Well, as you may not know, I am not a big fan of AI. Hands down, I am being very frank. So for me, I just see it as another competitor trying to get into this space and only looking to, increase, you know, capital. Um, I'm not a fan, only because AI, I think, erodes away ethics. It erodes away so much in society. And, I get that they're having a bit of a different model, a different spin on it. But I really, when I really think about all the disadvantages, to me, it doesn't really address those disadvantages. If something else is coming, it needs to really be tackling those issues and trying to erode away those disadvantages that, the use of AI has.
Hmm. You know,
Right.
before we jump a little bit further, I'd love to just dive a little bit deeper on some of your fears and concerns around AI,
Hmm.
because I don't think you're the only one who has fears of AI. Whether it
Hmm.
be replacing your job or the inherent biases, what are your personal concerns when it comes to artificial intelligence?
I think for me, it just, it erodes away at society that people don't realize. It erodes creativity because, someone, why, think of a poem and write a poem, or think of an essay, use your intellect, when you can use these tools to create a full, essay for you. So when you really think about it, it's like, I feel that it's just taking away from all of the creativity that individuals have. And, even with the use of AI, I mean, everybody knows, now it's a big hot topic in universities. How many people are submitting essays that are all from ChatGPT, right? So then there's that ethical point where you're meant to create something, and you are not using your intellect to try and think of something, to try and grow. It's like it's copy and paste, right? So if people feel comfortable of, that type of plagiarism, and it's so widespread, now there's even new technologies of how to use ChatGPT text to make it not sound like it's ChatGPT text, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, like I think that that's the component that I don't like. And I mean, even when we think about, of course, job losses, right? I mean, we're now, you can type in how to create, some type of script, and rather than having to hire someone, it can do this for you, right? So, I just think about how does it really benefit the individual? I really don't think it does as much. I think it really benefits the corporations, their bottom line, right? And, so that's why I think the angle just, it it's not beneficial to society, to be quite honest.
Joseph, who's one of our viewers on one of our live platforms, has a great point. He says, but you still need to be able to utilize great prompts and also decipher sort of what is garbage and what's real.
True,
So I
true.
I still kind of agree with Joe that there is, lots of creativity that goes into building really good prompts, and I think it's garbage in, garbage out, like
Hmm.
everything in life, right? And I
Hmm.
think that there's lots of creativity that goes in to leveraging AI. And I think that there's a wealth of value for individuals, not just corporations. Yes, huge benefits to corporations, but I mean everything from being able to, like, with some of the new updates that we've seen with ChatGPT, where you've got now the ability to speak and to listen and to see. One of the
Hmm.
great things that I think you'll actually appreciate is I saw
Hmm.
someone using it like as a quasi Duolingo to teach them Spanish. And I
Oh
know how
wow,
much you love,
that's interesting.
additional languages, and your Spanish is very fluent, at least certainly compared to mine. But there are a whole bunch of benefits that you can get personally, whether it's helping you with your language, whether it's helping you to be a health and wellness coach who's going to give you menu ideas, and you can now like take a picture of your fridge and be like, can you make me something healthy with what I've got in my fridge? Like, the
Yeah.
power of what we can do with AI is immense. I get that there are some fears and some trepidations, and I'm excited over the course of this show to convince you, hopefully, of the
Hmm.
merits of AI, because my belief is I want AI to replace me. I want it to replace my job
You do?
because Absolutely. I would love it if AI could completely replace me in everything I do, because that means I can spend more time with my kids. I can spend more time traveling.
That's
I
true.
just got to
That's
make sure
true.
that when it replaces me, I evolve and it doesn't replace my salary. Right. That's my
Yeah.
big objective. But I think
Hmm.
before, this is going to be a long debate that we continue for many, many episodes, and I'm excited to have you on our team to share, that other perspective,
Hmm.
and to hear the devil's advocate, because we
Hmm.
don't just need, two people like Kasim and I who are rah fanboys. We love the
Fanboying,
technology.
exactly.
And which we are.
Very
We need to
true.
hear the other perspective and see what we can do, to overcome those fears and to
Hmm.
educate, and also to step back and be like, wait a minute, maybe there are some ethical concerns I need to be worried about. What about copyright? Because as we talked about in last week's
Oh yeah.
episode, there were some issues, where Copilot was sued because they were stealing code from the information that was being used in Copilot. There are ethical
Wow.
considerations around bias. There are ethical
Hmm.
considerations about sharing confidential information. There's so many potential, items,
Speaking
to
to, yeah, definitely. Sorry to jump in. Just, like speaking to some of the comments which I'm seeing popping up, like Tracy
Mhm.
and Mabeen. One thing which is really interesting, I don't know if you guys have seen it, is that there's a lot of people who have popped up and now they're selling courses on how to use
Yeah.
ChatGPT,
I've seen that.
right? And
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
how to create the right prompt, how to get the right answers, because your answer
Yeah.
is only going to be as good as the prompt you give it, right? That's just what it
Yeah.
is. And going back to one point which Rachel mentioned, which was like about schools and stuff. I mean, I kind of agree with that, but in a slightly different context, where it's
Hmm.
when you talk about writing long essays and, writing like 10-page research reports or stuff like that, the question really becomes, if AI can come in and do it in like 2 minutes, do you actually need to do it yourself? But like, speaking to the point that you were talking earlier, when it comes to artists and copywriting, that's a real issue, because all of the
Mhm.
information
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
ChatGPT and their image generating software Dolly is scraping off of the internet, it's published work. Like, it's published work from actual artists, and they're not getting the credit. So it's a real issue. It's a real ethical issue, which
Hmm.
really been propped up in the limelight.
Address.
So yeah,
Mm.
that's sort of like an overview. But now moving on towards like
Yeah, let's fanboy
some
for a bit. I want to talk about all the new updates.
yeah, yeah. We'll definitely sort of revisit this topic about bias
Hmm.
and how, AI can never truly be unbiased, or can it be unbiased? Those are, topics that are definitely worth discussing as well. Moving on, updates in ChatGPT
Hmm.
4. I know I'm
Yeah.
super excited about them. I know Andrew also must be super excited about them. Before I throw it back to you guys and sort of get your 2 cents on how it can evolve further, is there any room for improvement? I'll sort of give the audience what's new in ChatGPT 4. So basically, now what they've done is that they've integrated all of their premium ChatGPT functionalities into one tab.
Yeah.
Before, what you had to do is that if you had to do advanced data analysis, you could only do advanced data analysis. You couldn't actually combine that with searching with Bing, or combine that with, creating images with Dolly, or stuff like that, right? So now what they've done is they've combined everything together, which has made my life a lot easier. And you can do everything under one tab, and essentially combine the power and all the functionality of ChatGPT. So now throwing it back to you guys, how do you think it can evolve further, and what are your sort of bucket list and wish list items for ChatGPT 4 in the future?
Um, yeah, I mean, how can it evolve further? It's really hard for me to see that right now because it's just evolving in ways that I hadn't anticipated. I'm big fan of, yeah, bundling everything together so you don't have to jump from like DALI to, search with Bing to. I
Hmm.
love that.
Hmm.
But what I'm actually even more excited about are these new GPTs that they're talking about, and that they've released. They've got. I don't have the ability to build the GPT yet. I know there are some people who have gotten that feature and are starting to build out their own GPTs.
Hmm.
Um, and those are sometimes called assistants. I really like that model because what we've talked about a lot when we were building our chatbot, which we're excited to show you guys what we built and how you can build your own, is really contextualizing information, because we know that ChatGPT has historically had some um, consistency issues and some accuracy issues and the ability to sort of make things up. That very famous case with the lawyer who decided to use ChatGPT in the very early days to write his legal response, and it made up an entire court case. I know my stepbrother's talked about when he's been using it in recruiting, and it's made up, GitHub references that didn't even exist. So being able to constrain what information it's pulling from, so being able to preload it with data, to be able to put it, a box around it, so to speak. Like, your role is to be an accountant. Your role is to be a search engine optimization expert. Your role is to be a sales and marketing expert. And here's the information I'm going to give you. And these are the building out my own. Oh, you Joy. Okay.
There you are.
Did Andrew freeze? Andrew froze. And Andrew disconnected from the internet. I hate technology sometimes. As much as I love it, I absolutely hate it sometimes. Last week, it cut us off at 40 minutes. Thankfully, we didn't lose our session. So I got to be careful. I've got to learn to share the mic. Bad habit of mine. But Rachel, what are your thoughts and your perspectives? I guess you're the devil's advocate. So do you have any hopes for the future?
First of all, when I think of AI, I just think Sarah Connors was right.
Yes.
It's like the ultimate Terminator and what they say about AI. But here's the thing, though. Although I'm not a big fan of it, I'm not going to lie, I do use ChatGPT, right? I do use it. Is there a certain component which does help me in terms of refine my skills or, better my services that we offer to clients, different things, help make parts and components of my job more efficient? 100%. I'm not going to deny there is efficiency that it does provide. Okay, that is definitely hands down. But, I think in terms of, again, going back to, that reliance on AI so much, as you were saying, Andrew, there's some benefits that individuals get from it. You want to learn a different language, et cetera, but it's still transactional. We are still paying for it. And what are we paying? We get the information, they get our privacy. They get our information, right?
So there might be some changes to that. There is now GPT Enterprise, which is a constrained thing. There's also the ability to build your own GPTs, by the way, so that you can have a contained environment. So it doesn't have to be at the expense of your data. And I think that's something, when we talk about what we want in the future, I definitely would like that, to be able to feel like I know it's safe to be able to load client data. Because I've been doing some testing and with the new vision features, I've discovered that you can put in a bank statement and it will give you back a CSV that worked accurately. And I said, I even gave it a bank statement, a CSV, and our chart of accounts. And I said, okay, give me back a CSV. And by the way, I want you to code and classify these transactions based on our chart of accounts. And it was pretty good. It was better than many of our clients. And the problem with that is I don't feel comfortable taking a client's bank statements at this point and loading it into the system. I'm okay with doing that with my own data. We've got to still figure out, are there clients who are willing to do that? Like, maybe we just have a disclaimer, like, are you willing for us to share your information with OpenAI if it means we can reduce your accounting fees? And I guarantee you there are other people out there like me who are probably willing to share some information. But that's the thing I'm excited about, is when those enterprise features of being able to make sure that your data is safe and secure are available.
Yeah.
Plus, the other announcement that they had this week is they cut the cost by like more than like 2.75%, or more than 275%.
275. Wow.
Yeah, for the API features. And the API features now have the ability to use vision. So some big updates from OpenAI as far as AI and vision. But I think, I guess we probably got to be careful not to let ChatGPT steal the entire thunder of what's new. I'm sure there's been some other updates that are worth discussing, this week. Kasim, what else is new in the news this week?
Yeah. So just to quickly touch up on one point, which I think I'm actually interested to hear your guys' perspective as well, is that when we talk about AI, the natural discussion is ChatGPT and Grok and Bard and stuff like that. But AI is such a broad thing. The cell phones we use, the apps that we use, they're all collecting data. They're all using AI, to. And there are privacy concerns. I get it, because you don't want your data. I mean, I know I'm not comfortable with my data being shared by a third party or something like that. But the problem, or I don't know if you'd call it a problem, is that AI only gets better with more data. So the more data you give it, the more data points it gets, the more it learns, the smarter it gets, the more accurate output it gives you when you ask it a question, or when you ask it to do a task next time. So the only sort of balance, which I guess we have to talk about, is that once we stop giving them data, and that's sort of like yes, it can self-learn, it's generative. It's a balance. Like you have to give it data to get better, right? So I don't know what you guys think about that, but that's an interesting conundrum.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
And me, as long as I feel like the data is secure, I'm generally speaking fine sharing my own data, as long as I know hackers aren't getting. I don't care if AI has it. I'm the amount of information that I've given Facebook over the years, I'm not overly concerned. Again, this is going to be a long discussion, and I do want to make sure that we save enough time to go through Chatbase. So, a couple other key updates, if you don't mind me stealing the mic for a minute, Kasim, is because there were some other updates that I think are really important. Rachel and Kasim know how much I love RPA, robotic process automation. We use Power Automate. But UiPath, which is another RPA tool, had a big announcement that they're adding and implementing AI into their platform this week. So that's going to be a game changer for all those people who are excited about the types of things that we're doing with RPA, but we're overwhelmed with building it out. Bringing the ability to have AI starting to help you build out some of these robotic process automations is incredibly powerful. And I really think that the power of AI is when we're combining multiple platforms like robotic process automation, artificial intelligence, all this stuff together. And Kasim, I've worked on a couple of projects where we're pulling different pieces from different puzzles and different AI apps, not just ChatGPT, and pulling it all together to make a cohesive solution is really exciting for me. So that's a big one. I think there's also some new innovative AI tools that were that sort of got some notoriety this week. One of the ones obviously biased towards our industry is Spark Receipt, which is a tool that combines receipt scanning, expense tracking, and document management, sort of like Receipt Bank, Expensify, those types of tools. So that's a new one that's come out. Softer AI, which SOFTR AI, is a tool that allows you to create web applications easily. You've got Snapvid, an AI-powered video editing tool. So, there are so many new tools coming out each and every single week. It's almost impossible to be able to build that list. That's one of the things that one of the chatbots that we have on Fridai FYI is the ability to use AI and chatbots to be able to check what's coming new and what's coming down the road, and to be able to build custom app stacks for any client base. So if you want to have some fun and play around and go put in a customer and see what kind of app stack it'll recommend, and we'll show you how we built out that chatbot today. And in fact, I don't know if this is a good transition time to sort of maybe move and transition into talking about chatbots, what they are, and give you guys a real world, Labcast into Chatbase to show you how to build your own chatbot.
Yeah.
I do have a couple of asks for those of you who are logged in. If you could just make sure that you post another chat comment so I can make sure we're actually live. I think we are, but I love seeing your chats come through. And the last one I see is from Joe, who's just making fun of me being a Canadian here. But I want to make sure we're still live. But while that's happening, Rachel, what is your understanding of what a chatbot is, and what do you think about the new chatbot that we rolled out on CPA for IT? Thank you, Tracy.
I get that chatbots are supposed to be able to be a useful tool to help individuals it's almost like a search engine, but more precise based on, that particular company. Now, Kasim was talking about, yes, you give more data, it helps improve. And trust me, I have seen chatbots, back in the day where I'm completely frustrated. I ask one question and gives me something completely different.
Human.
Exactly. Exactly. And I'm like, that's not what I asked, right? Yeah. Whereas now, yes, they're way more sophisticated. And yeah, I started trying hours to ask questions, the most simple questions, the most complex questions. And is it beneficial? Is it useful that, I get the quick answer? It is, but I think about it, it depends on what the industry is, right? I always think for me, with accountants, they always say 1 + 1 is whatever you want it to be, right? So sometimes it's not necessarily just one answer. It's a situation. There's a lot more you need to take into consideration. So, maybe it's accounting.
It depends, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? So, sometimes it's like, well, we can't give you a precise answer because, there's more to it. So, sometimes I do think the information is a little bit misleading. And of course, I had also, mentioned to you, I want to double check. Is it given right information? Because we have to realize that's what we're putting out there, right? And if individuals are relying on the responses and what it's put in, we have a bit of an obligation to ensure that it's up-to-date information, that it's reliable, it's factual, So there are definitely things that I think companies needs to make sure that, in terms of the information. But overall, it's good. I'm not gonna lie. Again, is there something that creates a little bit of an ease for individuals to get information? 100%.
Yeah, and again, just like what we said earlier about AI, garbage in, garbage out, and what we've seen with the chatbot is that people will not give enough detail for the AI to actually be able to answer the question. So what is a chatbot, and what is it doing, and how is it adding value to your business? As you said, Rachel, really depends on the nature of your business, and whether you're willing to trade off that somewhat depersonalized robotic process for speed and the ability to respond quickly and hopefully accurately. And I think, when it comes to accounting, we know that the number one thing our clients say over and over again is they want timely and fast responses.
Yeah.
Right. And so being able to make sure that we can provide those quick answers that most importantly are accurate is really important. And so one of the things that we were able to do with Chatbase, and so the website is chatbase.co, and it is such an easy platform to work with. We're going to show you guys how to build a chatbot in just a matter of minutes here. In we were able to constrain it to information contained in the Canadian Income Tax Act, as well as our repository of Canadian information. And so far, and when I released it, I actually put it out to a couple of accounting groups, and I said to my friends, hey, can you guys break this? And a couple of people came back and said, yeah, I broke it. But Their version of breaking it was it came back and said, sorry, I don't know the answer to that. To me,
Right.
that's not breaking it, right? That's it living up to its expectations of saying, if you don't know the answer, I don't want you going and making stuff up, right? And another thing that happened is that if people dug deeper and provided more information, it would actually give them the answers that they needed. So right now we've got 3 chatbots that we have built. So we've got the CPA for IT one, which is our tax accountant expert. We've got Fridai AI, which is that app stack builder using some websites that have an updated list of all the latest AI softwares that are being released. And one, Rachel, you haven't even seen yet.
Okay, let's hear it.
Is the one that I was working on this morning with Kasim, which is our Guru Card chatbot. Okay. So for those of you who are not familiar with Guru Card, it's a learning management system, so to speak, where we have cards, which are training systems and it's supposed to have AI built into it to recommend certain guru cards to help people sort of build their knowledge base and skill. But it wasn't interactive, so to speak. It has a search and a much better search than what we had built into Stream. But now you can actually have a conversation with guru cards. Like if I come in here and I look at this one. Oh, I'm clicking on the wrong screen.
This is actually mind-blowing because essentially you can condense all of your internal training into one chatbot, and instead of going through pages of material, just ask it questions, right?
So it's going to go through and tell you how to update Schedule 50, which is based off of Guru cards that we've gotten, and it's even going to give you a reference back to the actual Guru card. So if you want to go and watch the video that underlines and supports this, you've got that. And so it's really cool what you can do with these chatbots. But let's show you how to actually build a chatbot. So you log in, create your account in chatbase.co. There's a free version, by the way, which has its limitations. You're pretty much going to want to go for at least the $20 a month package. But for $20, how can you go wrong? You simply come in here and you say, okay, create a new chatbot. And the first thing that you're prompted with is a place where you can put in files, texts, websites, Q&A, or even for those of you who are using Notion, I know my stepbrother's a big fan of Notion. He's got an entire business built into Notion. You can connect Notion into here.
Nice.
But let's go with just some basics and upload a couple of files that I've already downloaded. So I'm going to use the QuickBooks Online user guide.
So it's pretty much just like a data dump, right, Andrew? You just grab the information, dump the data, and then it starts to...
Exactly. You can choose whatever information you want to search, whether that be your own website, where you might have blogs, whatever the case might be, you can come in here and load that in. Also on the Pro Advisor site, there's a QBO student guide, so I'm going to load that in here. And once that uploads, all we have to do is click our create chatbot. Now there are some limitations. What we can see here is this is only 71,000 characters, which is a relative, 211,000 characters with both guides. Okay. You're limited to 11 million characters. And that might sound like a lot, but to give you an idea.
Yeah, but you're going to exhaust that.
Yeah, you can exhaust that. So a copy of the Canadian Income Tax Act, which I loaded, is 5 million characters. So that ate up half of the library just for the Income Tax Act. There's but there's a lot you can do. So right off the bat, I can say, hey, how do I create an invoice? And I'm not going to say QBO or anything. It's going to give me the information now to do that. What if I say, how do I create an invoice in Xero? Hopefully it's going to come back and say, I don't know anything about Xero. I am not sure. My knowledge is based on information provided, which is specific to QuickBooks Online. And that, to me, is the most important thing of what we can do with these chatbots is constrain the information and make sure that it's only responding with information that we're providing it. Now, the beauty of this is that you can still monitor all the information that's coming out of this. So you've got a dashboard which gives you all the chat logs. And one of my favorite things is that you can come in here, and if you don't like the way your chatbot is responding, you can revise the answer and put in what you'd like the response to be. And now from here on out, it's going to only respond based on the revised changes that you've made to it. So and that will basically load into the QA section that we've got under your settings, under your sources, I should say. So if I modify that will show up here in the QA. You can also just put in text. Again, I love the ability to put in websites. So let's maybe try and see if we can load maybe Firm of the Future. Into its business blog, which is a great blog. So let's just take the Firm of the Future page. This might take us a second longer, but I'm going to load this in here. And I'm going to have it crawl this web page. And let's see how much data it can fetch here. So what it's doing is it's going out right now and it's crawling that website. And it's actually going through the entire website, including all of the links. It doesn't download files as it says here, but it will crawl every link. Now, again, we have come across some limitations with this. It doesn't work on absolutely every website. If a website has a no index, no follow link, it basically won't work. We tried to crawl the CRA website, didn't really work. We tried to crawl the Tax Court of Canada website, didn't really work. So you're not going to be able to crawl every single website, but you certainly can crawl your own website, your own blogs, to be able to reference back to your own content, as well as to crawl other sites of other areas where you have reputable resources. Think about thought leaders who share a bunch of information. You can build that out here, right? Like I think there's one, Alex Hermosi, I think, is the big famous guy right now with his content. And I've seen people to build out chatbots based on Alex Hermosi. I know Chris Doe built a chatbot that was based just off of all of his content, off his YouTube videos. You basically just take the YouTube videos and get the transcript and load all that. So now we're up to 9 million characters. You can see how quickly
that's quick.
that loads up, and then we would have to retrain our chatbot. The beauty of it here is as the website updates, you can come back in and retrain your chatbot. You can also even change how frequently your chatbot retrains. So it will, as far as go back and recrawl these websites, you can set how frequently that does that. And boom, that's it. Our chatbot's good to go. It's got all that additional information loaded into it, which is the entire blog history of the Firm of the Future website, which is absolutely incredible.
So Andrew,
saving you hours, right?
Yeah. Andrew, I do have a question. Rachel. So let's say, for example, that you're doing a data dump, website links, what happens if there are sourced information with conflicting answers to a question? What happens? And I'm not 100% certain, to be truthful. Okay.
But my guess is what it would do is it would basically come back with its highest probability of answer, because GPTs are actually based on probability. So it's actually the way it's generative, because it's called a generative pre-programmed transformer. What it's doing is figuring out logically what's the next word. It's not just actually answering your question. It's figuring out what's the most logical next word in the statement. So it's going to give you the answer that it believes is the most logical. So again, if you load it with conflicting information, you run the error or you run the risk of it maybe not giving the right answer.
Right.
Which is again why the importance of these chatbots is being able to narrow and constrain the information, and you choosing what the right answer is.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, again, with Chatbase, you have the ability that if it comes up and it gives an error, an answer you don't like,
Mm-hmm.
you can go back in and revise the answer. Right?
Okay.
That's one of the big benefits that you're getting
Mm-hmm.
with Chatbase, right? And what you can do there.
It's
So
very
another
different
question,
with
though.
Chatbase. Just to add in there, like the whole point of Chatbase is that you're limiting context, which in our case is a very powerful thing. Because with ChatGPT, there's like a boatload of information and it pulls from various sources. But with
Right.
Chatbase, you can like constrict it to your own needs. And yeah, it's even though there's limited context, but it's still a very powerful thing because you control what it answers.
So here's another question. Let's say, for example, just like how we were asking the chat to provide, information about zero, and it comes back and says, this is only limited to QBO. Is there some way that there's reporting or reports that, we can go back and look and see, look, these are all of the questions that individuals are asking, and we don't have the information, so we know how to cater the content that our clients are looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got your dashboard, which gives you all your chat logs as well as some analytics. And there's also this leads feature, which so you can choose to turn leads on or off. If you turn leads on, then when someone asks a question, it's going to ask them for some information. And let me actually just walk through a bit of settings, and then show you how easy it is to embed this on your website or wherever you'd like to go. So first of all, in case we get booted off at the 45-minute mark or something like happened last time, I want to show you how easy it is to embed this. So you can first have this as just a private chatbot like we've been doing right now, or I can choose to make it public. Once I make it public, then I have a couple of options. I can do what they call a iframe, which is like if you want it just in one section of your website, you would just copy this code and put it exactly where you want on your website, right? So, and if you have a developer, they could do this really easily. In fact, most people, you don't even need to know much HTML. You just literally copy the iframe and paste it exactly where in your website you want it. Now, if you want that little button in the lower right that has, the hey, you want to chat type of thing, then you would copy this script and paste that into your website. Now, it's got to be on every page that you want that little button in the bottom right corner, but you could do something like put it into your header so it's across every single page quite easily. But that's how simple it is to embed this onto your website. But there's a whole bunch more things that you can set up and configure, which I want to make sure that we touch base on. So if we go back over to our settings, we've got general, model, chat interface, security, leads, notification, webhooks, and domains. First of all, general just is giving you some information. The only thing we can really change here is the name. So let's call this our QuickBooks chatbot, just to give it something a little bit better than what it named it, because it named it just based off of what we uploaded. So we want to rename that just to make it a little bit easier to locate. We can then go over to our model, and this is where we check that update that reframe or training frequency. So maybe I want this to update every single day in case from the future adds new functionality to their website. And now in the model, this is where we get into some really important settings. So first of all, by default, it's going to be using Chat 3.5 Turbo. We can also use Chat GPT 4. And so you have the ability to choose which model you want to use. Most of us probably prefer to use Chat GPT 4 as its accuracy is better, and there's a whole bunch of benefits. Then we also have the instructions. And the instructions are really, really important because, again, you can think about these as the custom instructions that you would have in ChatGPT
Exactly.
that are constraining the information. And this
Mhm.
is where you can add the personality into your chatbot, because if you want it to act like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy a la Grok, or you
Mhm.
want it to act like a young millennial and use slang and be more hip and urban, you can put that type of context into here and it will update it. But by default, what it's going to do is it's going to say, hey, I want you to act as a support agent. Your name is AI assistant. You will provide me with answers from the given information. If the answer is not included, say exactly, I'm not sure, and stop after that. Refuse to answer any questions not about the info and never break character. Do not delete that because that is, as we said, the most important thing. But you can certainly add on to that, right? Like if I want to update this to have a little bit more personality, like I'm going to say, um, use the persona of a Gen Z and reply using as much slang as possible.
Now this is going to be interesting.
No
Yeah.
kidding.
So let's save that. Success. And let's go to our chatbot here and let's test that. And let's say, how do I create an invoice? Which is what we asked it before, right? Same question. Hey, no worries,
No worries,
fam. I
fam.
got you. Here's the 411 on creating an invoice in QuickBooks. First, you got to hit up create menu. You'll find it at create customer's invoice. Then you'll fill up. So you can add in your own
Yeah.
personality, and that's why like I'm not overly excited by Grok and the ability to have the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy as a persona. Because
Right.
what if I don't like that persona? Like, what if
Very
I'm not
true, very
Seth
true.
David, who's a big fan of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? What if I would rather it be William Shatner as Captain Kirk, or I want a different personality.
Mhm.
You can choose to have whatever personality in the chatbot that you like by going in and tweaking those instructions. So pretty cool in my opinion. What you can do with the model interface. And then you've got temperature, so you can make it more reserved or more creative. I would recommend sticking to the more reserved, again, because the purpose here is we want it to be constrained, right? Like that's the objective. I only want you sticking to this information. If we give it more creativity, it has more license to stray away from the information that we provided it. So in my opinion, don't touch the temperature, but you're free to play with it and do with it as you see fit. We do also have some options in the chat interface. So first of all, you can change what you want its original message to be. So maybe we want this to, like, if we're going to use a Gen Z millennial voice, we probably don't want to say, hey, what can I help you with? We might want to be something like, hey, what up, fam, or something like that. Who knows what you want it to be, right? But you can change that. You've also got this suggested messages. So if I wanted to add in, how do I create an invoice? I can save that. And if I go back to my chatbot, you can see it's got that preloaded with how do I create an invoice. So you can create some standard frequently asked questions that you maybe want to guide the conversation towards, and you can put those into your settings, which is pretty cool in my opinion. And going back into our chat interface, we've still got a few more things that we can change. So you could change the theme to a light or a dark. You can set an avatar. So if you want to have a specific image associated with it, you can do that. You can choose to include or remove the chatbot profile picture. So let's say you add a chatbot profile picture, but you don't like it, you don't want to use it, you can remove it or you can change it. You've got your display name. So we could put in Andre I or whatever we wanted to put in for the display name. You can use your user message color that's defaulted, or you can change that. So there's a whole bunch of things that you can choose here, including your chat bubble button color, and whether you want that chat bubble appearing in the bottom left or bottom right. So you can see this is the chat bubble that we're sort of talking about for Chatbases, but you can manipulate and configure that. And if we change that here, you can see it's updating there, so we can see that. We could also update the chat icon that we want. If we didn't want that to be a chat box, we could change that as well. So a couple of things that you can do in the chat interface. Moving into security, this is again another important thing. You can limit the iframe functionality to be only certain domains. Like if you don't want someone to go and like rip off your chatbot, and because you're paying for it, someone could just take the iframe code and put it on their website. You can simply click this button and then put in your domain. And now if someone tries to copy that code and go and put it on their domain, it's not going to work. You can also limit rates. So imagine someone wants to come into your chatbot and use it a la ChatGPT and just go wild with it. You can put in these rate limitations to prevent people from going nuts and taking off on your API, because this is connected to you. In order for this to work, you do need to have an OpenAI account, and you are using the OpenAI API, which is actually very easy to set up. I'm not sure we'll cover that today because we only have about 8 minutes left. I apologize. But there's a couple other things I want to talk about, which are leads. So you can choose to turn these off or on. You can also change what you want it to say when this pops up. So basically when someone goes in and does their first chat, it's going to say whatever you have here in this title, and it's going to request either their name, their email, or their phone, and you can choose to make that all. You can also modify this. So you could change this, but you only get up to 3 fields. So these are probably the most common that you're going to use. Should you choose to do that, you can get notifications every day, and that's under the notifications tab. So you might want to see an email every day with your daily leads. You just put in your email address that you want it to go to. You can also receive an email with daily conversations. But of course, you can come back in here and you can see your chat logs as well as your leads, as well as your analytics in your dashboard. So you can come in and see this. But if you're the type would just rather receive a notification of what's going on, it's sometimes easier to come in here and set up those notifications. There is also some advanced features with webhooks and domains. So you can set up events. So you select the events the webhook will listen to. And the only event they have right now is new leads submitted. And then you give it an endpoint. This is really useful if you've got a CRM and you want to have those leads automatically loaded into your CRM. So we could set up a webhook with Infusionsoft and /Keep so that when a new lead is created here in our chatbot, it will go and check our CRM to see if that lead already exists, and if not, create a new lead, put them into our drip marketing campaign. A whole bunch of cool things that you could do with those webhooks. You can also do custom domains, which means that you can set a custom domain for your chatbot, but that's a feature I'm not paying for, so I can't show it to you right now. So again, we've got some other new things that you've got. You've got some new integrations. So you can connect it to Zapier, connect it to Slack. Is that out yet? Yep. So it's released. This wasn't out. This is some new updates. These were coming soon the last time I was in here. So you can now connect this to your Slack workplace. You can also connect it to WhatsApp. So if you have a WhatsApp number that you give out to your clients, you can have that connected to your chatbot. So you're responding to your clients immediately, even if it's after hours, leveraging your chatbots. You can also connect it to Zapier. We've already done some really cool things with what you can do connecting this to Zapier. Again, probably for another episode. But Rachel, I'd love to hear, as someone who's not a big fan of AI, what do you think about the new Zap that we created that takes our value-based questionnaire that you use with all new leads and then spits back, a recommended, the 3 key factors that will close that lead and a recommended email. What are your thoughts on that new release that we had a couple weeks ago?
So, I mean, first of all, I can definitely see why you guys geek out over these things. Okay. I'm not gonna lie, it is impressive. It is impressive. I mean, look, in a matter of, under an hour, we're able to put so much together and have so much value, right? I think sometimes, I will admit, maybe again, just my narrow mind when it comes to AI, I don't really open up to, the new technology, the new tools. And maybe that's something that I need to do. Maybe you guys might make me a believer, right?
But you can't, and here's where, you can't argue with our close ratios.
I know.
We closed more clients this week
I'm
than
not gonna
we
lie.
closed last month.
I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the stats do show the benefit for businesses. Again, as I said, like it is beneficial to businesses, to individuals, and the stats show that. I guess I just need to be more open-minded, right?
Yeah. And we, like I said, we do want to hear your concerns, right? Because as fanboys, we need to be put in check sometimes, and to realize that it's really easy for me to get super excited. You've seen me do this about other apps. Get super excited by something, and a year later, I'm done with it.
It's like you're opening toys on Christmas Day. Yes, that excitement.
Yeah. I do not believe that's going to happen with ChatGPT and the power that it can bring.
Yeah.
Now, Kasim, what about you? What are your thoughts? And you've seen the power of what we can do here. You see how we're starting to roll this out by connecting it to things like GetGuru, how we're able, the other thing that we're looking at rolling out and doing is taking, and Rachel, you again might find this interesting, taking all the user guides from Profile and Caseware and all those things that no one, like, has anyone ever gone to look at the help in Caseware to try and figure something out? No, they call you or me or someone.
Yeah.
Right? Imagine if you could actually have a chatbot that could answer that. So you could have that, again, we could connect it into Teams using Zapier so that they ask a question in Teams and it's going to come back with a chatbot response that's based off the user guides from Profile and Caseware and all the technology that we're using. Right? I mean, to me, it is really exciting times because
it is. It is, Andrew. I mean, it's so funny that you're saying that because I remember back in the day, it's like, I'm opening the thick income tax guide, that's like this big, scrolling through pages to look for something.
Yep.
And at the tip of my fingers, I can type a question and get the direct answer, right? To be able to research information.
Having those books and having to go to the back and try to figure out where in the book is the section that we're looking for.
Right now you're only sort of limited by your imagination because there's so many use cases. There's so many workflows that you can implement based on which industry you're in, which market you're targeting. And I had someone talk to me about creating an AI chatbot who would just manage their emails because they got a lot of emails. They want to keep track of them. So it has so much potential, and yes, there are ethical implications which we need to discuss and which we need to learn about. But overall, I think, if this is sort of kept in check, if this is developed properly with good intent, it can be something which is really powerful and potentially change the course of lives of people. So I'm really excited about it as a fanboy like Andrew. But definitely really excited to see how it evolves.
Yeah, so am I. And I guess that brings us pretty much to time. I guess the one ask I'd have for anyone who's watching this live or for anyone who watches the replay, what do you guys want to see next? What would you love to see a hands-on deep dive into? We've got some stuff scheduled with Zapier. Jim Harris is going to be coming in. He's one of my mentors, and he's a leader on innovation. And we're going to have a really excited conversation about Zapier. So we're going to be doing Zapier. That's a given. We've also got Hitendra Patel, who's going to be coming in and talking about artificial intelligence. What else would you guys like to see? What would be the one app you guys want to know more about and you'd like to see us deep dive on. Because obviously we could do this whole thing on ChatGPT, but I think there's lots of other experts out there who are doing that. There's another show that runs on Friday that I encourage you guys to watch and check out. And in fact, I encourage you to absorb and take as much information from all these different platforms as you can, and to learn and grow and share that back with the community. And for any of you that are going to be down in Vegas next week, I'm looking forward to connecting you in real life and share all the fun stories of how you guys are integrating artificial intelligence into your practices, because the more that we share, the more that we grow, right? So yeah. Exciting times, and thanks again for joining us on this journey. We will be back every Friday at 1 o'clock, and I'm excited to share with you my team members who, as you can tell, have done a great job. So thank you, Kasim and Rachel, for your wisdom and your insight, and Rachel for playing the devil's advocate for us. Okay, see you guys next week, and bye for now.
Bye.